Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Winga Gaschunga, Mamtris Mjungunga. My name is Mary Peltola. I'm from the village or the community of Bethel, Alaska. I'm the executive director of the Kuskokwim Intertribal Fish Commission. And in May, as Senator Murkowski mentioned a moment ago, in May of 2015, the Fish Commission was formed as a consortium of all of the 33 federally recognized Alaska Native tribes located along the Kuskokwim River. This historical unity of tribes was driven by our understanding and insistence that we must have at least a co-management role if our Chinook salmon and way of life are to survive. Despite agreements with the U.S. Department of Interior for a tribal role in management of traditional subsistence fisheries, the burdensome federal administrative structure and misplaced policy priorities of Fish and Wildlife have undermined the unified effort of the tribes to protect our salmon stocks and way of life. Tribal self-determination is minimized in this most vital aspect of tribal health and well-being. Two unique circumstances complicate the Fish Commission's efforts to manage Kuskokwim River Chinook salmon stocks. We are federally recognized tribes. We have a government-to-government relationship with the Department of Interior, and Interior has ample discretion to implement and administer the subsistence rights provided under federal law for rural tribal members through co-management with their rural tribal governments. Roughly half of the Kuskokwim River from the village of Aniak to the mouth of the Bering Sea flows through the Yukon Delta National Wildlife Refuge and is subject to federal jurisdiction. But before the river passes through Aniak, it is subject to state jurisdiction. I should also note that the Kuskokwim River is 900 miles long. Under ANILCA, federal managers are required to prioritize non-wasteful subsistence uses of fish and wildlife resources by Alaska's rural residents, many of which include the Fish Commission's tribal members. However, state law prohibits prioritizing subsistence uses of fish and game resources for Alaska's rural residents. Instead, state managers must provide all Alaskans with equal access and opportunity to take fish and wildlife resources. Despite the obvious conflict between these two management regimes, it is federal policy to defer to state management of the federal portion of the Kuskokwim River whenever possible. Federal managers currently apply and enforce state regulations in federal waters, even though those regulations do not meet ANILCA's mandate to prioritize subsistence uses, and they defer to state management decisions. The Federal Subsistence Board administers the subsistence taking and uses of fish and wildlife under ANILCA. The regional directors who sit on the Federal Subsistence Board frequently band together, and at times their loyalty to support one another undermines their protection of subsistence interests. The Federal Subsistence Board receives administrative support from another federal agency, the Office of Subsistence Management. While OSM purports to represent the interest of Alaska's subsistence users, those interests are oftentimes in conflict with Fish and Wildlife Service's political and bureaucratic interests, limiting OSM's effectiveness. These jurisdictional and administrative issues motivated the Fish Commission to enter into a memorandum of understanding with the Fish and Wildlife Service in February of 2016. While on paper, the MOU places the Fish Commission as a management partner with the Fish and Wildlife Service, that equity of relationship has not been borne out in real life. The Fish Commission needs clear and enhanced authority to develop and implement management plans without having to go through the burdensome administrative process required by ANILCA. Congress should consider federal legislation authorizing a pilot project for the Fish Commission that provides authority for the Commission to bypass the existing administrative structure and process of ANILCA and directly implement the federal subsistence priority for rural and tribal members. Congress should also encourage the Secretary of Interior to engage in rulemaking to create a direct management structure between the Secretary and the Alaska Tribal Co-Management Commissioners, such that the Secretary can simply delegate authority to our tribes to implement subsistence fishery management. With that, I'll be happy to answer any questions.